So there we are. And now we are going to the next color, to the next group of cards, which is the sadness card for the third set of Mind Worlds, Dynamic Skill Theory. And the first one is Sleepy Pollen, with a super nice doodle by Nick Jay-Z. And its effect is static. If chosen type enters the train, add 2 counters to one thought with counters. So the way it works is that as it enters the mind, you're going to choose a type. So maybe you're going to choose Cosmic, maybe you're going to choose Fluffs. I mean, I wanted to say doesn't matter, but it pretty much matters what you choose. Because either you want it to happen whenever you play some of your things, or whenever the opponent plays some of their things, to kind of make them think twice of whether they really want to play this card. So let's say you say Fluff. Whenever a Fluff will enter, this card will add 2 counters to one thought with counters. So it could be a slow card. A slow card, they get a counter. With this effect you would add 2 to that card, meaning that it will enter way later. It could be hidden thoughts, so thoughts that get hidden, with counters on them, you can add 2 of those. So it's really powerful if you have cards that delay, if you have cards that hide. And yeah, it's a fairly simple effect, it doesn't do anything as it enters. It doesn't gain influence. But I feel like, personally, I really enjoy these chill thoughts that have an effect that becomes stronger and stronger as the game goes on. The next one is a Helping Hand. So it has 2 effects. The first one is project 1 card. So you're going to give 1 card to the opponent, they're going to have to pay its cost. And then the opponent is going to give you 1 card. So in the best case scenario, you're going to project, they're going to have to discard a card, because they don't have time counters, and then they're going to have to give you a card. So it kind of acts as a double discard in the best case scenario. It's probably going to happen very, very unusually. And then this card is slow. So it doesn't gain anything, it is slow, but it has a very interesting effect that might really make it hard for the opponent to kind of keep the advantage. Especially because it's a chill thought, so you can play it quite early in the game. But then it's also this kind of card that if you play it too early, the opponent has a lot of options as to what they want to discard. And so it's probably better near the end of the game, but since it's slow, you have this disadvantage that the opponent is going to see it coming, so they're going to know. So yeah, a lot of things. This card creates a lot of choices, a lot of questions, and I really like this kind of cards. Next is Tear Apart. Tear Apart has an effect which says wait, delay the next card opponent plays. So wait is a keyword that just means the next effect needs you to wait for something to happen. So here, you're gonna wait for the next opponent to play a card, and it's gonna get delayed. So it's kind of a weaker version of a previous card. We have a previous card that states that basically you delay an opponent's thought, and it's a fast card. So the opponent doesn't expect it, you play it, the card that it just tried to play gets delayed. So it's put on the side of the mind with a counter, and it's gonna enter next turn. So this one is a weaker version of that. But then you get to gain some influence. So it depends on what kind of deck you want to create. If you want to create a deck that kind of allows you to also grow your influence over time, and you don't necessarily need the effect of surprise, this card is really good. But if you want the effect of surprise and to kind of catch your opponent off guard, the previous card is way better. Next, we have What's Inside. So it's a slow card. Its effect is opponent draw 1 card, then they give you 2 cards. That's kind of one of the ways in which this color draws cards, because I do believe that this color doesn't have effect that allow them to directly draw cards from their deck. There's a few colors that are like that, so this is one of them, and it's a fairly good effect. Your opponent is going to draw 1 card, you're going to get 2 from them, it's the opponent who chooses them, so they're probably going to give you their worst card, but it's still a great trade for you. This card is slow, so overall a fairly balanced card. Next is Derail. So the effect of Derail is wait. Silence the next opponent's thought that enters the mind. Gain 1 influence per sadness in the mind. So similarly to the one we saw 2 cards ago, Tear Apart, it's an effect that existed in a previous card, but at fast speed and without the gain of influence. So instead of silencing something on the fly, you're gonna silence the next thing the opponent plays. So the opponent is gonna know about it. So they're gonna be able to play around that. But the way that we balance that is that then you still get to gain some influence. So the opponent still has a bad time because one of their things is gonna get silenced, but they get to choose which one. And you gain some influence. Next is Silent Void, a drawing from Nick Jay-Z, and it's the first merge card for this color, which states merge 0 or more faceless. So as it enters, you take any number of the faceless cards that are in the mind and you put them underneath this card. And then its effect is instant. Forget 1 merge faceless to silence 1 thought. So in response to an effect that should trigger, let's say an opponent's card enters the mind and its effect should trigger, you can forget 1 of your faceless thoughts that you merged in order to silence it. So you stop the effect from happening. It's a very strong effect. Once again, since it's merged, it's very double-edged sword, because you have to remove some of your cards from the mind, some of your colors, and this card in itself doesn't do anything as it enters. So you have to wait for stuff to happen in order to use this card, in order to make something out of it. And this card doesn't gain any influence. So you really get to know when to play it, how to play it. So merge is really one of these abilities that is hard to master, but can be really great. Next one is Sleep Away, the other merge card. Merge 0 or more faceless, instant. Forget 1 merge faceless to delay 1 thought in the train. So similarly to the previous one, it does the same thing, but instead of silencing an effect, it can delay a thought in the train. So if there's a card in the train of thought, you can delay it with this card. So you forget a merge faceless, and you delay it, so you put it on the side with a counter and it's gonna come next turn. So another great card. We have a lot of strong thoughts in this set that do not gain influence or gain less influence than they should, because we try to balance that with the strength of their effect, and we try to have it so for every color you have some kind of range. You have a range from how much influence you can gain with them to how good their effect is. Obviously we never want both things to happen, but you kind of want a nice curve from one to the next. So in randomized decks, you end up having a bit of everything. Since it's randomized, you're more likely to have a mix of these different kinds. And when you make a pre-constructed deck, when you build your own deck, you have a lot of options to how you want to go about the game. So maybe you want a lot of strong effects from chill thoughts, and then to gain your influence with strong and intense ones. Or you want a bit more of a balanced mix. Or maybe you want that most of your chill thoughts gain influence, but then you just have really strong effects from your stronger cards. So we really want to have a lot of different options for randomized decks and for deck building, which is something that's quite interesting. Because initially, if you asked me the question, I would have thought that if you design a game for deck building or for randomization, these wouldn't go together. And that whatever you choose to create for one of these systems, it would go against the other system. But it turns out that these two systems have a lot in common that makes it so some kind of mechanics work really well with both. Anyway, next one is Anxiety. So another amazing drawing by Nick Jay-Z. And its effect is static. If chosen type enters the train, their owner forget 1 thought. So I didn't state it before, but this is one of the new mechanic. Static, if chosen type enters, do something. So this color and the next one both have this new mechanic. So if chosen type enters the train, their owner forget 1 thought. A very nice one. Once again, it's you can make it really good depending on what type you choose. You could either make it so whenever you play one of your cards, so maybe you can say faceless, and whenever you play a faceless thing, their owner, chosen type enter the trade, their owner forget one thought. Oh no, I misread this one. It's been a while since I read it. So actually this one, since it's the owner of the card that enters that forgets, you want to state a type that is one of your opponent's type. So let's say your opponent is playing red. What you probably want to state as the type you choose is probably going to be flame, maybe fluff, maybe caterpillar. And so basically whenever, let's say you say flame, and then whenever a flame enters the train, the opponent is going to have to forget one thought, if it's the opponent who plays the flame. So that's quite interesting. I guess we did that so that it wouldn't be too strong. We made it so it's the owner of the thought that gets played that forgets something. Because otherwise you could, for example, choose faceless, and every time you play a faceless, the opponent has to forget something, which would be a bit too strong. And so here, we made it quite balanced, and we allowed this card to also gain influence. I think it's going to be a great card, Anxiety. It's going to be quite powerful, but you still need to choose the right type as it enters. Okay. Next one is Void Worm. So Void Worm has a static effect that states that if a faceless thought enters the mine, opponent discard one card. So really good effect. It's really powerful. I mean, it's an intense thought, and it's something that doesn't happen right away. So you do have to kind of set it up. This card needs to be there, and then you need to be able to play faceless thoughts. But it really puts a clock on the opponent. It really pushes your opponent to do a lot of things or to use their whole hand in order to come back or to find ways to deal with that. Because otherwise, every time you play a faceless, their hand is gonna just melt. Which is good, because usually when you can play these intense thoughts, it's near the end of the game. Even though these ones are the fastest to be able to play, the sadness and joy ones. So yeah, I was saying that Void Worm and the intense thoughts from these colors, from sadness and joy, are ones of the fastest to enter the mind, because they only require 4 of their color in the mind to be there in order to be played. So let's now jump to the last one, which is the Extraction, which effect is static. If a faceless thought enters the mind, shackle opponent this turn. So shackle is an effect that's a bit hated, I think for no good reason. People don't like this effect. I think it's a bit of a shame. But basically this effect means that the opponent, the person that is shackled, cannot play any more card until the end of the turn. It's a really strong effect. But the way the game works, it makes it so it's not overpowered, because as long as it's your turn, you can always play one card before risking to be shackled. And even in your opponent's turn, in order to shackle you, they need to play a card so you can always answer it. So shackle is not a full-on lock on the opponent. It's a good effect. But I feel like here, with this effect, that states if a faceless thought enters the mind, shackle opponent this turn. So every time you bring a faceless to the mind, you shackle the opponent, so they can't play anything anymore for the rest of this turn. It's strong, but I feel like Void Worm, the card that we just saw before, would be more versatile in most decks. Probably the Extraction might be better in some decks. It probably is way better in some decks if you make it, if you build it yourself, if it's not a randomized decks. But I would think that on average, Void Worm is the right call for a lot of decks that use this color. I think it's just more versatile. But yeah, the Extraction has the potential to be a very strong ending card for your deck that contains some sadness.